Good evening and a very warm welcome to you on this Thursday evening. A bit dark out there, a bit cold, a little bit wet today, although we had sunshine as well. So there you go, look at that, a weather report as well. Welcome to the Open Door Show from Property CEO. As always, my name's Richie Clapson. It hasn't changed since last week, and I'm here with the other half of Property CEO, Mr. Ian Child. Ian, do you want to say good evening to everyone?
Good evening to everyone. Hope you're all well. My name hasn't changed either, so it's all good.
Good stuff. Look at that. Consistency is what we like. Look, it's great to have you here with us. And over the next 45 minutes, we're going to be taking, as always, a deep dive into the world of small-scale property development. Isn't that right, Ian?
Certainly is. We're going to be covering some of the latest news items, also talking to a few of the movers and shakers out there in the world of property over the course of the Open Door series, and hopefully giving you a bit of an inside track on what's happening out there, and in particular, shining a spotlight on any opportunities that we think might be a good things for you to take a look at.
That's right. But above all, and we say this every week, and I think it's important, we're here to have a bit of fun. Life's too short. And do you know, I checked out the TV this evening. There's nothing on the TV. So, you know, what's not to like about being here with us? Life is definitely far too short not to have a bit of fun. But of course, as always, we need you to join in. I see some comments coming in the chat box. Please throw your comments in the chat box. It's always nice to know what you've been up to, what's going on, and whether you're enjoying actually being here. But also put your questions in. It is a question and answer show, and we will do our best to answer them. Ian, what's coming up this evening?
Well, we're looking at managing risk in development. So lots of risk in development, but also lots of things that you can do to mitigate it. So Richie is going to be giving us chapter and verse on how you can protect yourself from any of those nasties out there that might be denting your profits. So we're looking forward to hearing that.
Okay, I'm not sure we're going to do chapter and verse, but I'll just do a quick overview if that's okay.
Okay. Fair enough. Sorry, everyone.
I don't have time for chapter and verse. I'll be here. I'll be on a right old rant. I'll be going on forever. Anyway, who's on today? Let's have a look. Emmanuel's on. DJ's on. Hello, DJ. Good evening. Damien's on. Good evening, Damien. Dan's on. Andrew's on. Hem's on. Hello, Hem. I thought you'd had enough of us today. Hem's been on a session with us all day. Come back again. Why not, though? What's not to like? David's on. Another David's on. Cheryl's on. Roma's on. Giovanni's on. Peter's on. Rimsha's on. Hello, Rimsha again. Ricky's on. Ricky's on. Two Ricky's are on. Blimey, Charlotte. Dan, Debbie, Colin, Sam's on, Ian's on, Ramika's on, Lou's on, Eddie's on, Venus is on. Hello, Venus. Raj is on. Everyone's on. Well, not everyone. There's a few of you missing, but there we go. Philip says, Philip, you typed in the chat box, Philip. What are you typing your name in the chat box, Philip? I can see your name. It's not Roman, it's Jenny. Roman signed up as Jenny again. Cross-dressing.
Yes, we're familiar with that.
We're comfortable with that. We don't mind cross-dressing. Anything goes here, not a problem at all. Hello again, says Hem. Hello again to you. Good evening, Jen, says Dan. Evening, guys. Good to see you, says not Jenny, but Roman. Small development versus the big ones. Pros and cons, please. Okay, Ramika, hang on a minute. We haven't even done anything. Ramika's in with a question already. Giovanni says, great to be back. Haven't been on for a few weeks, but missed you guys. Oh. Giovanni, we've missed you too. Lucas said, good to see you. Good to be here. Nice shirt, says Rimsha. Thank you. Nice shirt. Who? What, mine? Ian's? Both.
Both.
Hello from Tony as well. Venus and Tony. Good stuff. Well, Ian, have we got any news items? I know you're getting into this news thing, aren't you? Got any news bits and pieces?
Still haven't got any theme music, I noticed. But yes, I do have some news.
Go for it.
So what have we got here? We've got apparently planning consents surged in January. So apparently there was lots of reports towards the end of the year that the number of project starts in development generally were sort of plummeting. But then somebody's worked out that actually it's now going the other way. So apparently planning consents for smaller projects valued at less than 100 million, so that should probably cover most of us, rose by 23% in January, compared to the final quarter of 2021 and 15% higher than a year ago. So consents for all project sizes have now risen for the third month in a row, with numbers now a fifth higher than they were in October. So they're basically putting it down to the waning impact of external challenges such as COVID restrictions and material shortages, all having a positive impact. So planning consents are up. Some very topical news here. there's an article in the Telegraph, why British house prices will suffer side effects from Russia's invasion of Ukraine. I like the top advice they give us is prepare for a drop off in Russian buyers. So I thought, well, that was quite lazy journalism, but they did actually go on to say that they reckon that, that obviously we've got a few things going on in the property market at the moment, interest rate rises, cost of living and so on. But they're just thinking that a conflict could keep inflation higher for longer and may in fact bring forward some rate rises. They reckon that the bank rate's going to peak at 2%, but might push average mortgage rates up to 3.2%, which is double what they were at the end of 21. So not the levels that they have been historically, but certainly more than they are now. So that's something very topical that came out today. And then I love this one. This was from Planning Resource. A planning committee member has been suspended from the LPA, from the authority, for opening a bar without permission. So apparently a councillor and planning committee member has been suspended from his local authority for 1 month after an independent watchdog found that he opened a coffee shop and a wine bar without planning permission. And in his defence, he claimed he found the planning matters difficult to understand. So there we go. If it's difficult for the planning committee members, what chance of the rest of us got? So there you go. That is your news for today.
Thank you very much. I think what that planning officer should do is maybe he should give me a call and I could tell him some advice of whether he could convert his pub into residential or not.
Like it.
And point him in the right direction. Anyway, look, managing risk in development. Development is risky. Number one, there's a bit of news headlines. Development is risky. You could lose your house and all the contents within. You won't be able to sell them to Russians either, apparently, according to Ian with the news. They're not coming over anymore. Never mind. Such is life. But look, development is risky. It is risky. You've got to know that. But of course, it's about mitigating the risk. It's about controlling the risk. The biggest problem and the biggest mistakes that I've seen, I've only been in the industry a couple of years, to be fair. Okay, 40 odd, nearly 40 anyway. The biggest thing I see is just people don't know what they're doing. Okay, and it's like anything. If you suddenly try and go and get involved in something you don't know, it can be dangerous. I was talking to someone I knew the other week, and we were talking about. I'm going to go off piece here into cars. Sorry about this, but we were talking about cars, and we were talking about electric cars, and we were talking about the maintenance and service of electric cars. And he's involved in a garage and maintenance and so on, and like a main dealer thing. And I said to him about electric cars. What are they like for servicing? He went, they can kill you. And I went, what? He said, yeah, petrol car can't. You can set it on fire, but he said you've got to be pretty, you've got to be pretty awful to do that. And he said you can make lots of mistakes on a petrol car, you get away. But he said an electric car, you really got to have specialist knowledge. If you start tinkering around under the bonnet of an electric car, it can kill you. The voltage is huge. And it's interesting, isn't it? But you wouldn't attempt to do that. You wouldn't attempt to give that a go because you'd think, oh, that might kill me. And then it puzzles me why people go and try and give development a go. Well, it can't be that difficult, can it? No, that's why people train for many, many years and get professionally qualified. Of course, it's not difficult. Go on, fill your boots, give it a go. Google everything. No, there's no problem at all. Watch a few YouTube videos and you'll be away. Of course, you can go and make 200,000 a year by watching YouTube and Googling it. Of course you can. It's obvious. Such an easy thing to do. No, license to print. It's not. So you've got to manage risk. You've got to control risk. So I'm going to give you 6 top tips this evening. Just memorize these. Write them down if you really want to. I don't mind. It doesn't really bother me. But I'm just going to give you some tips. So you got a pen, Ian?
I have. I'm all ready.
Okay. Got any paper?
No, you didn't tell me about paper.
There we go. See, there we go. Ian's just halfway there already. First one. Go for schemes with planning permission in place or permitted development rights. I'd prefer you just to do permitted development rights. I'd rather you not do something with planning permission, but actually I'd prefer those two over and above taking a piece of land. Okay. Now, I know a lot of you probably out there, I'm not going to ask for a show of hands. I often do this when we're talking and training people, but a lot of you would like to go and get a bit of land and do a new build development, and that's fine in principle, but there's more risk. And I'm trying to tell you this evening about mitigating risk, managing risk. So please go for schemes with planning permission in place, although you probably won't make much money out of them as a small scale developer. So if not, permitted development rights. Go down that route. Why wouldn't you if you can? Why would you let the planners have control? It can be completely open-ended. And you're not going to get funding. So if you go for a bit of land, you won't get funding. And anyone out there who thinks they're a little bit clever and start shouts, bridging, you can get bridging. You can get bridging, but you don't want to be doing bridging. You don't want to be going down that road, getting bridging in place for a bit of land that you don't know whether you're going to get planning on or not. Could be sat here next year, the year after. The Russians might be back buying properties by then. You don't know. Okay, you don't know. So please, number one, make sure you take that path of least resistance, permitted development rights or planning. And then number two is get your numbers right. Okay, get your numbers right. And again, I mean, it does astound me that people think, well, it can't be that complicated. I've sat down with someone and I've looked at their numbers and I said, you've got any finance costs in there? Oh no, do I need to put those in? Well, I would have thought so. Yeah, I would have thought so. Yeah. And professional fees. Oh, I haven't really allowed too much for that. I've got £500 in for an architect. Yeah, that's probably absolutely enough to design a brand new block of flats. You know, and it's just like this naivety of actually not knowing how to run the numbers, not knowing how to put those together. I mean, you can imagine if our chancellor was sat there, no political jokes, please, and if he was sat there and he didn't know how to put numbers together, didn't know how to run the country, didn't have a clue how to stack the books, and maybe they don't, who knows. But, you know, you'd expect people to run these things. You'd expect them. I mean, what about your pensions, your investments, the banks? You expect them to control these things, and I know they don't always. But in your case, you want to make sure you get your numbers under control. And don't put that to someone else. I had a crazy suggestion the other day. Someone said, oh, it's okay, I'm going to outsource my numbers to someone else. I'm in a group and they've got someone who can do the numbers for me. Oh, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. You don't know how to do them and you're going to outsource them to someone else who apparently does, because they've been doing it a few years and they're going to give it a go for you. And have they got any professional indemnity insurance? Have they got any liability? What if they get it wrong? What do they do? Oh, I'm so sorry about that. I did my best shot, but oh, sorry, you've lost $250,000. Do apologise. Never mind. Do you want me to run some more numbers? No. Okay, you've got to know how to do your numbers. You need to know how to do this properly. They are so important. Okay, get your numbers correct. And you might think, what a stupid comment that is to give a top tip or get your numbers correct. It's obvious. It is obvious. But actually, why do people not do it? Why do people not learn or get taught how to do their numbers? No idea, but they don't. So write that down. I've just seen these things so many times, time and time again. Here's another one. Anyone heard this term that gets bandied around in this industry, and it's got quite popular over the last couple of years, less so perhaps in 2022, because I think things are changing. Build to rent. And I hate this term that goes with it. I'm going to get a new property strategy. It's build to rent. I'm going to do build to rent, build to rent, build to rent. Well, what is that? You know, why do people suddenly barking about build to rent? It's the latest thing. It's brilliant. It's terrific. Do you know, it's one exit. And actually, to minimize your risk, you need two exits. You always need two. And guess what? One of those is to rent, one is to sell. That's pretty much it. Okay, a few little variations in between, but that's it. It's not complicated. So actually, every scheme that you do should have an exit, which is a build to rent. Now, I know if you're going to build to rent, there might be some tax implications and how you set the thing up and what you do, sure. But you shouldn't, please don't, as a newbie out there, get hooked on it and think, oh, that's brilliant, that is, look at that, that's a brand new strategy. You know, and I don't have to think about selling it. You do, even if you're building to rent. What if the market changes? What if the world changes? What if suddenly you can't rent them out? What if you don't want to rent them out? What if the tax man's all over you and you want to sell them? Oh, I never thought about that. The model doesn't stack up as a sell model. Have at least two exits on everything you do. That's number three. Please make sure you stick with that one. That one is really, really important. In fact, they're all important. In fact, number four is even more important. And I can see we've got, I do recognize a few of our students on this evening, and you will be well aware of this because I do go off on rants and talk about this. Have a minimum of 20% profit on gross development value. Do not proceed without it, preferably 20 to 25, because it allows room for movement. Because the world changes. Okay, the world changes, and you know, we're having a bit of fun here this evening, but you know, the stuff that's going on there with Russia and Ukraine, I mean, it's pretty serious stuff. Hopefully that doesn't affect what we're doing over here, and I think it probably won't. But you know, as Ian said, there's a few little implications that will filter through. But the world does change. We saw that in 2019 going into 2020, and we didn't expect it. You absolutely have to start with that profit. You absolutely have to. I was doing a training session today. Ian and I were doing a training session, and I know a couple of people are on here this evening from that. And we did this exercise, and we looked at this project, which was yielding about 400,000 profit at 20%. And then we played around with it and said, well, hang on a minute, now it's only making 300,000. Who's still interested? And a few people went, yes, please. But it only made 15%. And I said, are you still happy with it 15%? And a few of them still went, yeah, I'd do that. No, you won't. Because things will change. And even, you know, I've heard students come to us and say, well, my project manager said it should be okay. Oh, yeah. And is he putting his money on the line? No, he's not. He just wants a project management commission, if I'm being slightly cynical, maybe. Okay, so the thing is, your money's on the line. Okay, I could have said that a bit ruder, but you know what I'm saying. Your money is on the line here, and that 20%. Hopefully, you end with 20%. But even if you don't, that's there for a buffer. That can get eaten into if things happen, if things change, if things go wrong. And will you make mistakes on your first project? Of course you will. Of course you will. And imagine if you only start with 10. It's about stress levels. Okay, if you only started with 10% and it started eating away your profit, and then you started getting down to 1% and 0.5%, and then it started going negative, what's your stress levels doing? Well, they're going up, aren't they? What if you start with 20% and okay, you end up with 10%? You say, okay, I never made 200,000 profit, but I made 100,000. Well, I can still buy a bottle of wine and just, you know, drown my sorrows. But what about losing 100? I mean, you're going to buy cheap wine and drown your sorrows, but that's in a completely different way. So please, you need to understand, it goes hand in hand with your numbers. You need to start with a decent number. You need to understand that. Number 5, think of this as a business, not a strategy. In fact, we talked about this today on the session. Okay, it's forget the term property strategies. If you're new on here this evening, give us a wave. Who's new? Who's new to the show this evening? Okay, yeah, a few hands going up. Thank you. A good few hands going up. Just drop those hands a minute. Let me just drop those hands. Who's new to property? Who hasn't done any property? Give us a wave if you haven't done any property at all. Yeah, okay, a few of you. A few of you there. Good, thank you. Thank you for waving. Good stuff. I'm going to put your hands down now. Put your hands down. That's it. Good stuff. Look, you would have heard this out there because you're sat here on Open Door. You've probably been around and listened to a few other property things, which is great. Absorb yourself in it. But you probably hear strategy. And it's a difficult term not to use because business strategy and all that, and that's fine, but not in the way that it's been bandied around. Because people want to go, oh, this got this strategy, this is the latest strategy, this is latest, and I know that's difficult, and sometimes we use it, but I just want you to come behind the sort of this facade and go, this is a business. When we talk about strategy, we also talk about a business, and that's important. You need to know you're running a business, and if you've never run a business, how can you expect to run a business? How can you expect to know what to do? How can you expect not to make mistakes? Pretty serious ones. And there are systems and processes involved. If you don't understand the system and processes, how can you do it? And there was actually a student who came to us recently who actually had gone to get trained by someone else. And he said the training was great, but he said they just told me the front bit. They told me how to win a project and price it up. And they said, then you crack on with it, go for it. But they never told me the bit of how to deliver it. Isn't it like going on a driving test and you pass your driving test and he's told you absolutely everything, this instructor, he or she, and he says, there's the accelerator, there's the gears, go as fast as you like. Once you get up to 70, you'll be absolutely fine. And you're up to 17 and you think, I better slow down. Oh my word, they never told me how to slow down. I don't even know where the brakes are. I mean, it's madness, isn't it? But that's like starting property and go, well, I can get it going, rah, 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 let's G you all up, let's go and win a project, let's raise all the money, but I don't know how to deliver it. Madness. Understand it. Think of it as a business, not a strategy. And finally, number 6, in the name of this company here, act as the CEO of the property company. Do not get down. Do not get your hands dirty. You're not going to lay the bricks, are you? Are you going to lay the bricks? I don't think you're thinking of laying the bricks or doing the electrics, yeah? Or painting. Please, don't do any of that. You're not thinking of that. But the trouble is, a lot of you out there think, well, I'll tell you what I might do. I might project manage it. Yes, I think that's a good idea. I think I'll project manage it. Why? Why not lay the bricks as well then? Well, I don't have any experience of laying bricks. Well, you don't have any experience of project managing, most of you. So why are you going to project manage it? Do you not think that's a skill set that people learn over several years? Don't do it. You wouldn't start wiring it up. I wouldn't. I'm partially colorblind. Blimey, the whole thing would blow up. But you wouldn't do that, would you? So you wouldn't project manage it. Act as a CEO. It's about running a development company. One thing that we do here, which is fundamentally different from what I've seen out there and what other students tell us, is we teach you how to run a development company. We don't just teach you a property strategy. How to run a property development company is absolutely fundamental. So those are my top tips. They're a little bit of a rant, I guess, in lots of ways, and some people might think that. Number one, go for schemes with planning permission or preferably permitted development rights. Know your numbers, know how to do your numbers. Number two. Number three, have at least 2 exits on everything you do. Number four, minimum 20% profit. Do not proceed without this. Number five, think of it as a business, not a strategy. Processes and systems. And number six, act as a CEO. Any questions, Ian?
Well, one obvious one, which kind of explains some of the electrical issues we've been having in the office recently. I hadn't realised your colour blindness got in the way of your electrical nous, but there we go. We have got a question.
You know, on a plug, when you look at a plug, you get the brown and the reds, and that's one of the colours I struggle with. And sometimes you look at that, and that's a bit. And so yeah. Don't let me wire stuff. Mrs. C, if I'm ever taking down a light, which occasionally I do things like that, and rewire it, she does look a bit scared. She disappears up to her sister's for a couple of days and just sees if the house has caught on fire. But it doesn't normally. It's okay.
50-50, that's what I say. Okay, we've got a question in from Charlotte. Good evening, Charlotte. What about doing a scheme that already has planning in place? I saw a deal with planning for 3 new houses, good area, a nice scheme. I like the look of it, but I am new to this. Your thoughts, please. Okay, it kind of goes back to point one, I think, of Rich's rant or explanation of the risk. Basically, if somebody else has got the planning permission, you know, that's already in place, then they've basically got the benefit. So that's going to be priced in to what you're doing, and as a result, if you look about, you know, who is going to make the money out of that deal, if they've priced in the planning permission, then ultimately you've got a choice. If you're able to see something where you could add, perhaps they've missed something, perhaps they're doing 2-bedroom houses and you could do 3-bedroom houses, or maybe you could squeeze an extra flat in or whatever. The problem then is that if you can do that, you've then got to go back for planning permission, and then you go back into the whole planning cycle again, which is not without risk, as Richie explained, and could take a long time. But if you end up building what they have got planning permission for, then effectively the person that's going to win the deal is the person that can either build it the cheapest or the person who's going to who's prepared to make the least profit. It's kind of it's just basically winning the tender on cost effectively. The third person that might win it is the person that's got their numbers wrong, and you don't want to be in any of those 3 groups. So that's why Rich was saying, yeah, go for, you know, having something with planning permission is great, but ultimately somebody else has got the benefit. If you can do permitted development, then you can get that benefit, and you don't have the risk that goes with the same change of use issues with the good old full planning permission. Charlotte, I hope that helps. Richie.
Good stuff. Karen says you need to calm down.
I was thinking that. Yep, yeah, I was thinking that.
I'm perfectly calm. I'm perfectly calm. And Roman says that we love your rants, Richie. There you go. See, Karen, I'm absolutely fine. I think it's important. I get passionate about these things. It's important to know. Philip says this is an interesting question. PD schemes are very hard to find, and the vendors are always asked too much money. Yeah, they are hard to find. Okay, but so's land. Okay, land's hard to find. So is actually creating a business completely from scratch in a completely different sector that you're not in, that could earn you 6-figure sums of money, 100,000, £200,000 a year. So of course it's hard. Okay, but the secret is often knowing where to look and knowing what to look for, Philip. Okay, so one of the things that we constantly find, first of all, people don't know where to look for deals. And if you're out there, Philip, and I don't know whether you are or you aren't, but a lot of people, this applies to lots of people, not just yourself. And a lot of people go, well, I'm on Rightmove, I'm on Zoopla, and I'm checking all the alerts, and it's all coming in, and there's nothing really new on there. When I ring up, it's too much. 99% of your time, if you don't know how to do anything with a property as well, you are definitely wasting your time on the portals. It's where are the deals? Well, they're not always on the portals, Philip. They're somewhere else. You've got to find out where they are. And that's a secret. It's about getting in touch with agents and working a relationship with agents. And there are ways to do that in this industry. If you start marching in and you're completely new and they don't know you at all, you won't get anywhere. Okay, just won't. They'll be polite, they'll be friendly, but there are ways that as a new developer, you can get in and find deals, and you can build relationships and get those deals, okay? And you can find deals that vendors aren't always asking too much for. And the other thing is knowing what to do with it, Philip. Now, that's one of the biggest challenges as well that a lot of people have. We teach a process of actually sweating the asset. How can you get more out of that? And quite often, we will be doing workshop days, Philip, with our students, and they will look at a project and they go, it doesn't seem to work. And we go, well, how about you do this, this, and this? Of course, we're putting 40 years worth of experience in it. They go, blimey, that works. There you go. It's knowing what to do with something as much as it is finding it in the first place. And I can tell you they are out there. Okay. Are they easy? Are they hard to find? Yes, they are. You're absolutely 100% correct. But they're a lot easier when you know how and you know what to do with it. Hopefully that gives you, it doesn't tell you the exact answer, but it does give you maybe a bit of comfort. But you can do it if you want to do it. They're out there. He says commercial agents give to their mates. Philip, they don't and they do. Okay, so commercial agents do give to their mates, but their mates sometimes don't always want a deal. You can get in, Philip, with those commercial agents, and you can become one of their mates. Okay, and that's what a lot of our students are doing, but you need to know how to do it. Ian, what's next?
I got one here from Giovanni. Good evening, Giovanni. How do permitted development rights actually work? And what does that mean in real terms? Okay, so permitted development rights in a nutshell were created by the government actually quite a long time ago, but they kind of came to the fore in two ways. Firstly, on your own home, you have permitted development rights to kind of extend your home in various different directions up to certain kind of limits. What we're talking about on here is obviously about development. And one of the biggest changes came back in 2015, where we were able to start using permitted development to change the use of buildings, office to resi, back in 2015. And so basically what the government's doing is saying, we've got all of these buildings that need repurposing, existing buildings, and we need to change them into residential, ideally, because we need to build 300,000 new homes a year. The planning system, it takes ages to do change of use. So what we're going to do is we're going to create some rights, permitted development rights, that enable developers to just go, yeah, if it's this type of building, you can convert it without planning permission to this type of building. So you're just changing the use. Now, what I'd say, unlike certain types of extension you can do on your home where you can just crack on, with most permitted development rights on commercial buildings where you're changing the use, you do have to apply for a thing called prior approval. So basically there are normally, there's going to be a number of checks and balances that you have to kind of measure up to in terms of boxes you need to tick. Ordinarily, for most of them, you're going to be able to get your planning consultant to kind of an architect work out whether you're going to be able to tick those boxes before you apply, in fact, before you acquire the building. So they shouldn't be an issue for you, but it just means that we're managing to dodge the most contentious part of the planning system, which is trying to apply for full planning. Whereas if we've got permitted development rights, we can change the use going down that route, which is far more straightforward. There you go. Potted. What's it on permitted development? Hope that helps, Giovanni.
Good stuff. I've obviously got to apologise now because I'm in big trouble here because. Jenny says, why are you obsessed with Roman? Says Jenny, jumping up and down. And I think, well, I thought it said that it was Roman, not Jenny. And when I look up on earlier, I completely misread that, and it says it's not Roman, it's Jenny. So I got that completely wrong. So you sometimes you're on the same email, sometimes you're not. Don't blame me. Get different emails. I don't know. So it's like, have a go at me tonight. You know, sorry, Jenny, Roman, question mark, whoever you are, who knows? Okay, Chen's got a question. Chen, so look, Chen says, interesting tonight. Yeah, I thought so. Thank you. Do you think that development has more risk than building an HMO portfolio? That's an interesting one. You know, I've never built an HMO portfolio, so I don't know, I guess. But I think they're different. I think they're very different. I think if we just have a look at it, ultimately in the offering we've got at the end, you're going to build an HMO portfolio, presumably to maintain and run. I can't think of anything worse. Well, yes, I can. Service departments. I think that's significantly worse, in my opinion. Okay, because I don't want to look after tenants. I don't want to run a hotel. I don't want to run an HMO with people arguing with each other and having to sort all those problems out. I know you can get a management company in, but I don't want to do that. Okay, But if you want to do that, then presumably that's what you're going to do. You're going to build a portfolio, and they do give some great returns. Obviously, some great returns. We don't teach them, so I'm not a specialist in it. So please don't take sort of serious advice on portfolio building of HMOs from me. But I think you can get some good returns out of it. And I think they're probably still working quite well if you do them in the right place and to the right standard and so on and so forth. Where is the risk in building a portfolio of HMOs? Well, I guess in terms of the voids. So if you're building that portfolio and you're going to get voids and you've got problems, and of course you get the wrong tenants and they trash the places or whatever. So there are risks there. I think if we just forget the rental bit, because if I'm looking at building development, I'm going to assume I'm going to sell it on. Because if I'm going to hold it, I could hold an HMO or I could hold buy-to-lets. So let's assume we sell it on. So Jen, I'm looking at the point of getting to that point where either we hold it as an HMO or occupy it. We're taking an HMO on board. You've got to find a property, you've got to convert it, you've got to spend some money, you've got to manage it. All of the same risks are there, but in property development, the risks are higher because the numbers are higher, okay? So there is definitely more risk in property development, no doubt about that, because the numbers are higher. If I use that process to try and make an evaluation of it, I don't think really they're any different in terms of controlling those risks, because if you do an HMO, you really want to control it. I might actually say you're more able to control the risks in development than you are in HMO, because most of the time, what I hear with people doing HMOs, they're quite hands-on in terms of the management. I just talked about operating as a CEO. And a lot of people seem to be hands-on. They get the electricians and plasterers, and they manage it themselves. Well, you're not professional at that, most of you. So there perhaps is more risk. The numbers might be smaller, but actually in development, small-scale development, you can afford to employ professionals to deliver, control, and run that project. So whilst your numbers might be high, your potential risk, you can probably control it better. On that basis, I might say HMOs are more risky, but there you go. Hopefully that answers your question. Ian, what's next?
I've got one here from Jen. Good evening, Jen, who says, can you just explain the CEO bit again for me, please? So this is when on Richie's rant, he was talking about playing the role of CEO. So basically what we want to do with small scale development, we're in a position, because the budget for a lot of the projects that we're doing at a sort of small scale level, whilst they're small in development terms, they're quite large compared to if you were doing like a flip or an HMO conversion or something like that. And so we can afford a couple of things. We can afford a main contractor and we can afford a project manager. And that enables us to kind of take much more of a kind of an overview. So we're not the ones that have to kind of go on site and manage what's happening on site. That's down to the project manager. We definitely play a role. At the end of the day, it's our risk, it's our project. And so we're going to have, we're certainly going to have interaction with those people. We're going to have a weekly call at least with the project manager to find out what's been going on and make sure that we're making any decisions. But the bit that you want to be doing is basically leaving the professionals to kind of get on with it. It goes back to one of the points that Richie made earlier, is that, you know, people, particularly with project management, some people think that that's kind of a bit like a generic task that, well, if you're good at organizing stuff, then you'll be fine. And actually, it's not. It's a very skilled job that involves being able to control, quite a lot of disparate things that are quite complex, and people as well, which is always a heady combination. And so you really don't want to be the one that is managing people on a construction site. Trust me, that's one for a project manager. Much easier to be the CEO. And that's one of the beauties of small scale development, is that because the budget is that little bit more higher, you're able to afford that luxury. So you play the role of CEO rather than the person on the ground that's doing a load of the running around and worrying about how this project is being managed. Do you know how that helps?
Okay, Venus has got a question in here. It says, we have agreed to a deal to buy some land, exclamation mark, exclamation mark. Maybe we should pull out for the reasons you state. We have bought the land quite cheap. Stick to PD, question mark. Well, Venus, I know that you know better than anyone the risks involved in land, okay? So I'm not going to tell you to pull out, but I'm just going to tell you, make sure you understand the risks. You know, and I know you know, because we've talked about this, that some of our students are doing some land development deals, and that's fine. There's just more risk. And so you need to have that slight appetite for that risk. Now, if you bought it cheap, that's good. I often say, well, why is something cheap? But hopefully that's because you've got a good deal, because I know you've got a bit in the know. You've got a bit of an inside track there compared to some people. So if you've got it for a good price, you've got the deal that stacks up, and you know and you accept, Venus, that the journey you've got to go on to get planning permission could take you a while, then that's fine. Okay, then that's fine. You know that if you're going into that with your eyes open, you can get some smashing deals out of it. Okay, you can work really well. But I'm talking about minimizing risk. And so there's definitely people, a lot of developers I know, who will mix it up. They do some permitted development schemes because that minimizes their risk. But when they get an opportunity to buy a bit of land, they go for it and they hold it. They just take their time on it. So as long as you're aware that you're not going to get rich quick out of buying a bit of land, because it might take you quite a while to go through planning, then that's fine. Don't necessarily, I don't just pull out. If you haven't thought of that risk, then go back and think about it. If you're thinking, I've got a bit of land, I'm going to get planning in 8 to 12 weeks, going to go and build what I'm going to build on it, I'm going to sell out in 18 to 24 months, happy days, going to go on holiday on a cruise. Could invite me, I don't mind going on a cruise, I'm up for that. But, you know, if you're thinking that, then maybe not. But if you're thinking, okay, I'll tell you what, I'm going to postpone the cruise for 2 or 3 years because it might take me a couple of years to get planning, but eventually I will, and I've got it at a good price and I can sit it there, and I've got other stuff going on over here, which is fine. Then absolutely, go for it, okay? It's about minimizing risk. Does that make sense? Hopefully that does. Good luck, Venus. Obviously, reach out to us if you need a bit more guidance on that yourselves, because obviously, a student of ours. So please reach out to us as necessary. Ian.
Right, one from Emily. Hello, Emily. If you need some passive income, surely buy-to-lets and HMOs are essential before starting a development. Okay, so it depends on your circumstances, really. So what I'd say there, for sure, for some people, passive income is the way to go, and maybe that's the way they want to go. But it's not essential to have passive income before you can do development, because, well, the development at a small scale, it should be effectively an activity you can do in the spare time, in exactly the same way that if you were setting up a buy-to-let or HMO and so on. It's not designed to be a career change. It's an investment strategy. So you're just simply doing something slightly different. So I think that the challenge always comes with buy-to-let. Obviously, you need to put in quite often a hefty deposit. If you're putting in a 25% deposit, I think the average deposit in the UK currently is about £70,000, and that's, of course, you know, a fair chunk of change to be putting in, and not everybody's got that level of money. So it's not necessarily something that's going to be open to everybody, although obviously cheaper deposits are possible. Arguably, you should do it the other way around. If you do a small development first, you need less money to get into it, because of course you're able to effectively borrow the deposit from private finance, private lenders, as well as get 100% development finance and up to 70% of the asset purchase from the same lender. So you can kind of get greater leverage on the money that's being borrowed. And of course, you're only working on the project. I mean, typically for a small scale development, we normally sort of say between 18 and 24 months from sort of start to finish in terms of when you take the money out, from when you kind of win the deal. So if you're able then to get a sizable kind of 6-figure profit out of a small development scheme within that sort of time frame, then of course that can act as a really good deposit for you to then put into to start your buy-to-let portfolio. So I think for some people, yeah, going down the buy-to-let route is absolutely fine. For others, particularly if those people are thinking, well, actually, I want to try and kind of supercharge things, get those that deposit money to before I can then invest, then potentially, yeah, small scale development might be a better way to go. And doing it both together, though, is hugely powerful. Absolutely, yeah, puts your sort of portfolio growth on steroids by doing a development and being a landlord. There we go. Sorry, I hope that helps.
Yeah, I think we just need to make clear that we're not suggesting that you go on steroids. We're not able to give medical advice this evening, so please, that was just a phrase that Ian was using. He's not actually advising you to do steroids as such.
Thank you for that. Apologies.
Well, just be careful. People could take that advice and they could take it seriously, and they could feel they linked being successful in property development to steroids. They start taking steroids, the development's not successful, and they criticize us.
How bad do I feel now?
You're just sloppy in your presentations. We'll have a word about this tomorrow, Ian, okay?
I'll make a note. I'll stay behind.
No. Unbelievable. He's got his review tomorrow. I'm going to see how he's getting on. Old Junior there. He'd probably punch me in the morning now. Anyway.
Should I wait that long?
I'm going to lock. My studio door's locked. I'm not letting you in. I'm going to sleep here all night. Anyway, Good. Next question. Getting to know. I was just laughing at that thought. You're going to bang in on my studio door in a minute. He'd disappear off of that screen and he'd come round into my studio and start punching me. You can imagine that. That would be an open door show to remember, wouldn't it? Two co-founders of the business start grappling on the floor in front of the camera live. Better than all this rubbish we're talking about here about risk. Anyway, let's carry on. Getting to know the numbers is, I can see, key. But how can I do that with no real knowledge? Is there a set of numbers for certain build types, says Jackie. Jackie, you're absolutely right. The numbers are key, as I said, so I'm pleased that you can see that. In terms of getting to know the numbers, you've got to work with professionals, cost consultants, quantity surveyors out there in the industry, and they will guide you. There are some ballpark numbers and some ranges of numbers for certain types of buildings that you're going to convert into certain types of uses in certain parts of the country to certain standards. So I've got quite a few variables, as you can see. What is it you're building? What quality you're building it to? Where are you building it? What was the foundation that you started from? What was the building? Was it a bit of a mess? Was it quite up to speed? Was it an industrial building? Was it an office? Obviously, it can vary. So there are no set numbers, okay? Just make sure you understand that. But Jackie, if you reach out to a cost consultant or a quantity surveyor, they will guide you on the sort of costs that you could do for certain developments in certain areas. Hopefully that helps. Ian, over to you.
We've got one here from Sharon and Lisa. Hello, both. I've done some buy-to-lets and now 3 HMOs and used a really reliable contractor, bit of a one-man band, but he's really good and always turns up on time, etc. Would it make sense to keep working with him on bigger developments rather than try and meet someone new? Not really, if I'm honest. So one-man bands, as I said earlier, what's kind of happening with small-scale development is we're taking that step up to the next level. One of the big advantages is that you can afford a main contractor, and that kind of gets rid of quite a few headaches because it means that they basically take care of all of the construction, and obviously they'll be managed by your project manager. So you're basically in a situation where you'll be moving out of the kind of jobbing builder territory, because typically one-man band, they might be bringing subcontractors in, or you might have to bring subcontractors in if you're the project manager on a smaller project like an HMO. But when we're taking this step up, then it's all under one roof. Also, the other factor, of course, is that if you're going to be getting commercial finance, as most people will for doing a small scale development, then the commercial lender is going to be kicking the tires of your professional team and making sure they're up to the task. And so they'll be looking at the experience of the contractor. They'll be looking at how strong they are financially. And of course, if they are just a kind of a one-man band where you're like their biggest customer because you've just stepped up to this big project, then that's going to potentially cause a few wobbles with the commercial lender. So I would say great that you've found somebody that is reliable for jobs at that level. When you move up to the next rung on the ladder, you really need to be you're jumping ship and moving to somebody, the best contractor you can find at that next level. Sharon and Lisa, I hope that helps.
I'm feeling a bit embarrassed.
Okay.
I've just been told off.
By
Monica.
Okay.
She says, how very dare you put Ian on the naughty step? I'm sorry, Ian. I'm sorry.
We were all thinking, no, that's fine. That's fine. I'll be the bigger man. Quite literally, actually, as it happens. But
it is 1:45. We are pretty much done, but I'll just answer this last question. Amelia says, is there a property development manual that I can buy that will show me what to do? I guess not. There you are. You've answered your own question, Amelia. No, there's not. There's not one, unfortunately. Amelia, so there isn't a manual which will tell you exactly what to do. If it was, it'd be pretty big. There is a process. I think you're picking up that I talked about processes and systems and understand them. And they're in a way, you need to understand that, how that works. I mean, if you want to, come and join us, okay? And if anyone else wants to come and join us, we're putting this out there fairly regularly now. A few people from Open Door have come and joined us and learned a bit of knowledge, completely for free, okay? If you want, write this down, grab a pen and paper, and I'll give you a link, Amelia, and anyone else, if you want to come and join us on a free half-day session. I don't know why you'd want to spend a half day with myself and Ian, but there you go. Some people do. propertyceo.co.uk/SFR. Okay, propertyceo.co.uk/SFR. If you want to come and join us, for a half a day, you're more than welcome. And we would talk about systems and processes and the 8 pillars of development. So, Amelia, you will pick up some of that. Hopefully that will be useful. Ian, I think we've run out of time.
Oh no. But at least I'm off the naughty set, which is, or are you on the naughty set? I can't remember who's on the naughty set now.
Who knows? Who knows? Anyway, look, folks, apologies. I know there's a lot of questions in the chat box tonight, a huge amount of questions tonight. We haven't had a chance to answer them all. I do apologize. We get through as many as we can in the time, but we all want to get you away at a sensible time. We need to go and have a lie down as well. If you've enjoyed the show, please put it in the chat box. Please just let us know you've enjoyed it. If you haven't enjoyed it, don't write that in the chat box. We just want positive energy in this environment. And of course, if you do, then we will come back again. But look, I know this is going to be tough, and I need to break this to you very gently, but we're not here next week. You'll have to survive without us. If you're interested, if you want to pop on the website, you can download pictures of myself and Ian, frame them, put them on your mantelpiece, and that'll get you through just for another week, because we will be back on Thursday, the 10th of March at 7 o'clock. Thursday, the 10th of March at 7 o'clock. Hopefully that's going to be good. Ian, have you enjoyed the show?
I've loved the show, every second of it. Thank you very much for asking.
Well, let's see if anyone else has liked the show. Let's see what they said in the chat box. I enjoyed it with a smile, says Ramika. Philip says, David Loader, structural engineer. What's that? I'm not sure what that means. That's a comment there. Enjoyed it. Great. Thank you, says Philip. Very good. Very good as usual, says, that just popped up. There's all coming in. Cheryl, you two have great humor, says Karen. Oh, I thought so. I thought, primarily, I thought it was just me. Ian was just tagging along. Thank you, Richie and Ian, again. See you tomorrow. Very good, SSM. Very good as always. Thank you, says Venus. See you next week. Well, absolutely see you next week. Giovanni says, terrific as always, a great fun. Well, look, we look forward to having a bit of fun again in 2 weeks' time on the 10th of March. See if you can manage to get by without us next week. See you now. Bye-bye.
Bye.